Welcome to another video with STEM with Charles. In this tutorial video, we are looking at simplifying algebraic expressions using the product method. This topic is usually one of your foundation topics that sets the bar and paves the way for pure mathematics students. Okay, but before we dive into any calculations, I need you to remember a few things. Okay, there's a simple rule, a thumb rule when it comes to algebra. When we have a positive number and we multiply that with another positive number, that will always give us a positive number. When we have a positive number and we multiply that with a negative number, that will always give us a negative answer. And when you have a negative number, you multiply that with another negative number, the answer will be positive. The second rule, it can be vice versa, where you have first a negative number and you multiply that with a positive number, the answer will still be negative. Another rule to remember is that when we have an unknown value x and we multiply that with another unknown value x, the answer is x squared. This is because every variable has an exponent of 1. And if you multiply that variable with another variable of the same kind, which also have an exponent of 1, the answer is that those two exponents will actually add up with each other and you'll end up with x squared. Okay. However, if we have an unknown value x and we add that with another unknown value x, the answer will be 2x. There's a difference here. The difference is in the multiplication in the previous one and the addition in the current one. So, how do we get to 2x? Just like every variable or number has an exponent of 1, every variable has also a constant of 1 in front of it. So you're actually looking at 1x plus 1x. And adding up the constants, 1 plus 1 is 2. And the x remains the same. Okay, so there's no change. When it comes to addition, there's no change in the exponents. The exponents remain the same. So don't change the exponent of the variables. Okay, it's only when you are multiplying and when you're dividing, then you're influencing the exponents. But when you're adding and subtracting, you are only influencing the constants and not the exponent. Have a look at something you are a little bit more familiar with. Okay, so we have a bracket, and we know that a bracket always indicates multiplication or product, right? So whenever you have a question like this, always remember the number outside the bracket need to multiply by every value inside the bracket, taking into consideration of the symbol, the positive in front of the 4, the negative in front of the 2, and the negative in front of the 3, as well as the positive in front of the 2 that's outside the bracket. Okay, so the 2x and the 4x to the power 3, that will be your step 1. The 2x and the negative 2x squared, that will be your step 2. The 2x and the negative 3, that will be your step 3. So you are looking at 3 terms for this expression. Let's go ahead and solve it. So first things first, we multiply the symbols. So positive multiplied by positive, that gives us positive. And 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. X multiplied by x to the power 3. So we have x multiplied by x to the power 3. That should give us 8. X 1 plus 3, and that is equal to 8. X to the power of 4. That's our step 1. Okay. Step 2. Positive multiplied by negative. If you recall what I've said in the previously earlier on the video, Positive multiplied by negative is negative. So 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Then we have x multiplied by x squared. And that gives us negative 4x 1 plus 2, which gives us negative 4x to the power of 3. That is our step 2. And then for our step 3, we have positive multiplied by negative, which gives us a negative. And 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And here we have x, but 3 does not have x, which means x multiplied by 1. And we know anything multiplied by 1 remains the same. So x multiplied by 1 is x. That is our step 3. Now, if we combine all 3 steps, we are then looking at our final answer of 2x 4x cubed, minus 2x squared minus 3 is equal to 8x to the power of 4 minus 4x to the power of 3 minus 6. That's our final answer. And that is in its simplest form. Here's another example, something you're once again familiar with, where we have 2 brackets. Okay. So normally you will hear teachers talk about FOIL, right? We will get to that. However, for now, when you see a question like this with 2 brackets and you need to simplify it, always tell yourself that the first number or the first term in your first bracket has to multiply itself with the first term in the second bracket, as well as the second term in the second bracket. So that will be your step 1 from the first to the first, and your step 2 will be your first term in the first bracket with the second term in the second bracket. And then once those 2 are done, you need to go over to your second term in the first bracket and multiply that with the first term in the second bracket, and then use the same term in the first bracket to multiply with the second term in the second bracket. So then that will be your step 3, and that will be your step 4. So you will end up with 4 terms before simplifying further. Okay. Now let's dive right into it. We always remember, in front of every number or variable, there's an invisible positive sign. So here we have invisible 1 as well. So first step, 2 multiplied by 1. Right? 2 multiplied by 1, we know it is equal to 2. Right? And x multiplied by x squared. So x multiplied by x squared. That gives us 2x 1 plus 2 is equal to 2x to the power of 3. That's our first step. Right? Now our second step requires us to multiply with the second term in the second bracket. Okay? So positive multiplied by positive is positive. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. X multiplied by y. Now, because x and y are not like terms, right? Your answer will then be 6xy. It remains like that. Okay? That's your step 2. Now for your step 3, we are now done with the first term in the first bracket. We are on to the second term of the first bracket. So negative multiplied by positive. That should start with a negative value. There's an invisible 1 in front of the y. Never forget that. So 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. And then we have y multiplied by x squared. So y multiplied by x squared. Once again, y and x are not like terms. So then that answer will then be negative yx squared. You can go ahead and say negative xy or negative x squared y. Either one works as well. Okay. All right. So that was our third step. And now for our fourth step, we're saying the second term in the first bracket must multiply with the second term in the second bracket. This will then give us negative multiplied by positive is equal to negative. 1 multiplied by 3 is equal to 3. Y multiplied by y is equal to negative 3y 1 plus 1, which is then equal to negative 3y squared. So we have our four terms. Step 4. We have our four terms, and now let's put them all together. Okay. So let's go ahead and say, if we close on that section here. So for our first term, we have 2x to the power of 3. Our second term is 6xy. It's positive 6xy. So let me say plus 6xy. Our third term is negative yx. So it's minus yx squared. And then our fourth term is negative 3y squared. Okay. So with that being said, this is in its simplest form. We cannot further simplify this because we do not find any like terms. And if you're trying to look for like terms, we have 2x, x with the power of 3. Here we have x with the power of 2. They are not like terms. And we have xy. There's nothing else but x and y as one exponent. Okay, so nothing we have here are like them. So our final answer is 2x to the power of 3 plus 6xy minus yx squared minus 3y to the power of 2. Here's another example. However, this time we have two terms multiplying by a 3-term bracket. Following the same step that we followed in the previous example, we will go and say that the first term of the first bracket has to multiply with the first term of the second bracket. Okay? And then the first term of the first bracket multiplies with the second term of the second bracket. And the first term of the first bracket has to multiply with the third term of the second bracket. So this will be a step 1. This will be a step 2. This will be a step 3. And then at the bottom, we have negative 2 as our second term in the first bracket. That has to multiply also with the first term of the second bracket. That will be your step 4. And then the same value has to multiply with the second term of your second bracket. That is your step 5. And then the same value once again multiplies with the last term or the third term of your second bracket. And that is your step 6. So you will have 6 terms which you will have to simplify further. Okay, let's dive right into it. So for our first term, we have 3x, or rather positive 3x, multiplied by x to the power of 2. Now it's an invisible 1. So positive multiplied by positive is positive. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. X multiplied by x squared is equal to 3x 1 plus 2 is equal to 3x to the power of 3. That's our step 1. Our step 2 says 3x multiplied by 2x. Positive and positive is positive. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. X multiplied by x is x to the power of 2, which is then x 1 plus 1 is equal to 6x to the power of 2. That's our step 2. For our step 3, we have 3x multiplied by negative 5. So positive multiplied by a negative is negative. 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. And because we do not have a variable at 5, x multiplied by 1 is x. So step 3 is negative 15x. As for step 4, we have negative value multiplied by positive value. So negative multiplied by positive, we know it is negative. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. X squared multiplied by 1, because there's no variable at 2, we leave it as x squared. That's our step 4. And then for our step 5, we have negative multiplied by positive, which gives us negative. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. And x multiplied by 1 is x. Okay, that's our step 5. And then for our step 6, we have negative multiplied by negative, which gives us a positive value, and 2 multiplied by 5 is 10. So it will be positive 10. And if we combine them together, combine all these terms together, we then have, for our first term, we have 3x to the power of 3. Our second term, we have positive 6x to the power of 2. Our third term, we have negative 15x. Our fourth term, we have negative 2x squared. Our fifth term, we have negative 4x. And our last term, we have plus 10. And now you ask yourself a question. Are we done at this moment? Are there no like terms? Well, we are not. You're right, we are not. We see that here over here we have 6x to the power of 2. And we have here a constant with x to the power of 2. So these two are like terms. And then we also see that there's a negative 15x and is a negative 4x. So they share the same variable and the variables share the same exponent. So to check out for the like terms, always look at, are the variables exactly the same? And if they are the exponents of those variables also the same? So because 3x to the power of 3 has no other like terms, we bring that straight down and we say it is 3x to the power of 3. Now for 6x to the power of 2 and negative 2x to the power of 2, we will say 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. It's a positive 4. Okay, so it will be plus 4. And remember what I said earlier on, when you're adding and subtracting variables, the exponents of the variable remains the same. So this will be x to the power of 2. Then we have negative 15x minus 4x. So negative 15 minus 4, you are going to the left side of the timeline, of the number line. So then it will be negative 19x. And lastly, the 10 as a constant, there's no other constant, so it will be plus 10. So our final answer is 3x to the power of 3 plus 4x to the power of 2 minus 19x plus 10. In our previous video, I gave you a challenge and you had to find the answer for 3x minus 4, which was equal to 16. So you had to solve for x. So let's do it together. Now, if you recall very well, we said when we have a question like this, we look at the left side of the equal sign and we need to isolate x. And to do that, the first thing we need to do is get rid of the constant value, which is 4, not 3 yet. Okay? So, and why 4? The reason why we get rid of 4 first is because 4 and 16 are like terms. So, in other words, we are trying to get 4 and 16 together so that we can isolate x. And to do that, we say 3x minus 4, which is a negative, we will get rid of it with a positive 4. which is then equal to 16 plus 4. What you do on the one side, you do on the other side as well. So the negative 4 and the positive 4 will cancel each other out. You will be left with 3x, which is then equal to 16 plus 4 is equal to 20. And from here, you then divide by 3. Divide by 3. And because 3 does not go directly into 20, you will then say x is equal to 20 over 3. Depending on whether your question paper will say write into decimal places or leave in fraction form, you can leave it as 20 over 3. So, well done. Now here's a challenge for you. Okay. I want you to simplify the following. Right? You have 3x squared minus 2y minus 4x to the power of 3 plus 2xy minus 5. Okay. We will reveal the answer in our next video. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more easy algebra explanations. See you in the next session.